Cam Buckner, State Representative, 26th District. And I'm really excited to have all who are here to join us today for this policy and energy webinar. I want to thank the folks at the Citizens Utility Board, at the Illinois Environmental Council, and BIG Blacks and Green for all the work that they've done and they continue to do on these subjects, and to make sure that we are, I think, up to date and moving in the right direction. We know that through this global pandemic, there's been a lot that has happened, and a lot of issues that we've talked about for a while have been exacerbated, right? And so we're going to spend some time today talking about consumer protections as they relate to COVID-19, how to decode your gas and electric bills and spot errors and avoid scams, which we know that that's happening, at a faster clip because of COVID than normal. We'll also talk about programs that are designed to save money and save energy, which is important to all of us, obviously, because we're here. And we'll talk about this Clean Energy Jobs Act and how it can help economic responses to COVID. And looking forward to hearing that piece. And excuse me, the latest energy policies around the state and how they will affect us on a everyday basis. So once again, I can't say thank you enough to the folks who helped put this together, for the folks who are here. And I am going to do something that people in my position don't do very much. I'm going to shut up and listen now, and we'll go from there.
Thanks so much, Representative Buckner. Hi, my name is Kate York. I'm with Citizens Utility Board, and I can help kind of facilitate the speaker transition here. So we have my colleague Marvin Fourte, who's going to speak on some of the consumer protections in the wake of COVID as it applies to utility bills.
Okay, awesome. I'm Marvin Fourte. I'm here with the Citizens Utility Board, and there's the clip. All right. First, we're going to begin with some background on CUB. The Illinois General Assembly created CUB in 1983 with the mission to represent the interests of residential utility customers across the state. We at CUB carry out that mission by intervening in rate-making proceedings before the Illinois Commerce Commission, ICC, and by providing consumers with information and assistance regarding their utility companies. Since 1984, we've been working for lower rates and better service from the state's investor-owned electric, gas, and telephone companies. Over the last 32 years, we've saved consumers more than $20 billion by blocking rate hikes and winning consumer refunds. When a utility seeks a rate increase or a change in service, it must win approval from the ICC. The utility usually presents the commission with detailed testimony from numerous experts to back up its request. It's our job to represent the same kind of evidence and make persuasive legal arguments, but from the consumer's point of view. We challenge utility rate increases, fight for rate reductions and refunds of overcharges, and appeal unfair regulatory decisions in the courts. We promote tougher consumer protection laws in the state legislature, where rules governing the utilities are written. And lastly, we publish consumer education materials. We've been working to ensure that the introduction of competition into the utility industry will provide real benefits for real people. To assist those real folks out there, we operate a consumer hotline that provides assistance to individual consumers who have complaints against their utility companies. Please give us a call should you have any problems. Our hotline number is 1-800-669-5556. On to the next slide, our virtual services. Currently, and due to the pandemic, the CUB team is working from home and postponing all community events to further notice. However, we're well equipped to continue to perform our essential task in helping consumers. As mentioned before, CUB has a toll-free consumer hotline and online complaint system. If you have a complaint or question about your utility service, please do not hesitate to call CUB at the number to talk to an expert from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, or to file a complaint online. CUB is now hosting virtual utility bill clinics. Our in-person events may be postponed, but we are offering another option in the meantime. Consumers can email us their utility bills and we will analyze them for potential ways to save and give people clean energy tips. That means Illinois consumers can receive the same service we provide at events, but from the comfort and safety of their home. The way this works is that you send us your electric, natural gas, or telecom bill, and a CUB specialist will look them over to see if you're signed up with an alternative supplier or if you're paying for unnecessary products and services. We can also let you know how your usage compares to other consumers and tell you if you're eligible for money-saving programs, including financial assistance, and guide you to free energy efficiency products and services. All you have to do is email us at ubc@citizensutilityboard.org, and please put in the attention virtual utility bill clinic in the subject line. If you feel it necessary, please feel free to redact your personal information, but be sure to include the account holder's name and where we should send the analysis. Into our next slide for PIP here, I'd like to begin talking about savings programs by explaining PIP, the percentage of income payment plan program. Many of you may be familiar with LIHEAP, which is the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program and is now available, but it's important for consumers to understand that PIP may be better suited to their needs and they should assess which to sign up for. LIHEAP provides a one-time benefit to eligible households for use toward energy cost. The benefit amount is based on 4 criteria: income, household size, fuel type, and geographic location. Being eligible for LIHEAP will assist you with some of the other services I'll share later in this presentation. The percentage of income payment plan, PIP, is a benefit choice within LIHEAP that is available to customers of Ameren, Illinois, ComEd, Nicor Gas, and North Shore Gas or Peoples Gas. The PIP program enrolls you in a budget billing plan, and under this program, the state pays a portion of your monthly budget bill, and you'll be required to pay the rest. If you owe money to the utility now, your balance is set aside, and every time you make your full PIP payment on time, that balance goes down. You must choose between your regular LIHEAP benefit or PIP benefit, and we highly recommend you look at both programs and choose the one that best benefits your situation. Moving on, our next slide would be utility emergency order. For the remainder of this presentation, I'll briefly talk about a few relief services for utility customers, ones that are especially useful during this pandemic, as well as need-to-know information for consumers regarding the pandemic, the first being for water. The website and phone number for the utility billing relief program here is on the slide. This relief is provided through the Community and Economic Development Association of Cook County, CEDA, and the City of Chicago, and is intended to make water, sewer, and water sewer tax bills more affordable for qualifying Chicago residents. The program works by giving consumers a 50% rate reduction for water charges, sewer charges, and water sewer tax. They also receive no shutoffs, penalties, or debt collection on City of Chicago utility billing debt. Lastly, they receive debt forgiveness after successfully completing 1 full year of this program. If your utility bill is for a single family home or a 2-flat and is your primary residence and you meet household income qualifications, you'll most likely qualify for this program. You should first go to their website and check if your property is eligible and follow the prompts to complete income verification. If you have any questions, you can contact the city's Utility Billing and Customer Service Center at 312-744-4426. On our next slide, ComEd is now offering payment assistance as well. When you go to the link here on this slide, You'll notice that there's an option for bill payment assistance, among others. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact their customers, they've created a new comprehensive package of more flexible financial assistance programs and payment arrangements. To help customers who are past due on their accounts, ComEd will provide additional bill assistance for eligible limited income household earnings less than 150% of the federal poverty level. This program should begin this Saturday, August 1st. They've mandated that it will not begin anytime later, but the website doesn't show that it's active quite yet. Eligible customers can receive a one-time bill assistance of up to $500 for past due balances and up to the amount of the balance. Funds are available on a first-come, first-served basis. To be eligible for this program, you have to either be a LIHEAP qualified residential customer with a past due balance or a residential customer with a past due balance you're at or below the 150% of the federal poverty level and are unable to qualify for LIHEAP. CUB's website has plenty of information on LIHEAP program, and we're here to help answer questions for those who'd like to sign up and receive those benefits. On to our next slide. People's Gas is now also offering a sort of assistance. Customers of People's Gas can also apply for a one-time bill assistance through CEDA. Phone number is listed here on the slide. Customer will have to provide income documentation showing that their household earning is less than the 200% of federal poverty level. And this program is very much so similar to ComEd, so you'll just have to check out the website. On our next slide here, one of the last quick little programs I want to tell you all about is the Chicago Housing Assistance Program. Lastly, assistance on utilities may not hit the priority of consumers if they are having issues paying for housing, especially during the pandemic. So the Department of Housing and the Department of Family and Support Services have several initiatives to provide housing cost assistance to Chicago residents impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. A randomized lottery system is being used for this program to create a level of equity and fairness that does not give an advantage to those applicants who happen to be more experienced using the internet or who have all the required document readily available. So if you need assistance with your housing, this information will be available to you too, and you can try to apply there online. So moving on to the conclusion, this will conclude a very, 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 very brief information slide. We have a few programs that can assist consumers in utility bill payments. It was a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you all, and our team is here to answer questions, either now during the presentation, if anyone would like to type some in, or we also have our hotline where we're very knowledgeable about these programs. So keep up with us on social media and our website for the latest information that we have. So thank you very much. That'll conclude my presentation.
Thanks so much, Marvin. As Marvin said, CUB is happy to answer anyone's questions if they wanted to give our hotline a call or reach out to us via the webinar. Just a reminder that if you have any questions, just go ahead and enter that in the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer them towards the end of the webinar. And the webinar is being recorded and will be available to watch via YouTube, and we'll send that out as well to participants. So moving from present protections, we wanted to pivot to talking about future protection or future clean energy goals and how clean energy might be a means of addressing some of the issues we're seeing now in forthcoming legislation. So Gavin Taves of the Illinois Environmental Council will take it away.
Hey, y'all. Hope you can hear me. Am I all good, Kate?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful. Let me move this little box so I can see what to do. Great. Thank you for that introduction, Kate. And I think that was a great bridge to talk about some of the future energy legislation that could pass this year with folks' support. That could make it easier for people to pay their bills and receive more consumer protections and move us towards a more renewable future, a cleaner future, and a future that has more equitable economic opportunities for folks across Illinois. So my name is Gavin Taves. I am the Energy Policy Director for the Illinois Environmental Council. And a little bit about the IEC, which is the acronym we use before I dive into the presentation. IEC is served as the eyes, ears, and voice of the environmental community in Springfield since 1975. And right now we have 100 affiliate organizations, and we work to bring the issues and concerns and desires of our affiliate organizations to the Illinois General Assembly and pass bills and advocate for solutions to a whole slew of environmental issues. And that's what we've been doing since 1975. And I'm very proud to be in the position I am right now, because I think the IEC has a great impact on all Illinois residents. So one of the big missions of the Illinois Environmental Council is to create a clean energy future for all. So, what does that look like? One of our key achievements, and an achievement we pursued alongside many coalition partners as part of the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, was passing the Future Energy Jobs Act in 2016. The Future Energy Jobs Act was a bill that was passed in Illinois that had bipartisan support, that leverages a lot of capital to generate between $12 and $15 billion in private investment in renewable energy across the state of Illinois. The program had really lofty goals, including powering 1 million homes by 2021 with solar and wind energy. These are oftentimes seen as the more economic future for energy. We're seeing that renewable energy in general is becoming more affordable than coal and natural gas, which is what we use a lot of the time in Illinois. So moving towards those energy sources will help save people money on their monthly bills. The second key goal for FEJA, which is the acronym for Future Energy Jobs Act, was bringing the Illinois Solar for All to disadvantaged communities in Illinois. And the idea here was to bring solar energy to disenfranchised communities in Illinois that have been, systemically oppressed and have not had the opportunity to invest in renewable energy, specifically solar, because of forces outside their control. And this bill itself was a way to jumpstart the renewable energy economy in a lot of Black and brown communities across Illinois. And thirdly, the idea was to provide more energy savings and to lower electric bills. There are a whole host of programs through FEJA that led to subsidized energy efficiency upgrades for low-income homes. And you can find a lot of this information on the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition website, which I will share later. But first, let's look at some of the impacts. And some of these are old numbers because we're still waiting for some newer reports. But what we saw after the Future Energy Jobs Act passed was that there was a big bump in the amount of jobs in the renewable energy field. A lot of these, there were these programs set up for disadvantaged folks across the state of Illinois. There were returning citizens who were involved in the programs, and so far we've trained hundreds of people through the Future Energy Jobs Act, and gotten them into lucrative careers that have long-term prospects for wealth building. And the great thing about the programs within FEJA is that graduates from some of the programs in the bill were highly employable and were employed very quickly from the program. So not only did FEJA have this renewable energy incentive, it was also training folks in communities to get careers in the renewable energy field. However, we know that there's more work to do, not only on the environmental front because of the climate crisis, but also because of the major economic issues that Illinois and the rest of the country and the rest of the world, for that matter, are facing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we know what we know is that folks of color, especially in the in Illinois and the Chicagoland region, are they're bearing the disproportionate burden of the impacts of the economic recession and the respiratory health pandemic. So we need to fight back against all of those forces, and there's a great way to do that. And I'll introduce that in a moment. So right now, there is a federal push to prop up dirty energy sources that would make Illinois ratepayers pay, upwards of $500 million, or sometimes the estimates are higher than that, per year for dirty energy that we won't even use. So it's bad for ratepayers and bad for the environment. Furthermore, we have coal plants which provide jobs closing all the time in Illinois because it's uneconomic to run the plants anymore. Like I said before, renewable energy is oftentimes cheaper. These plants are closing down, and the workers themselves have no contingency plans because they often receive 30 days notice to find new work, new health care. They might lose their pensions and so on. Without additional revenue sources, we're facing a huge issue for the renewable energy economy, where some funding streams are going to run out and will lead to an even further setback for the renewable energy economy. And finally, we're seeing huge impacts from the climate crisis, major heat waves that we know also disproportionately impact Black and Brown communities in Illinois. And last year around this time, all 102 counties in Illinois declared an agricultural disaster because of the massive heat wave and the drought that took place. We know that climate change is happening now. We know that it's hurting and killing people, and we need to act, which is why the Illinois Environmental Council and our coalition members at the Citizens Utility Board and many, many other wonderful folks, including co-sponsors that we have on the bill, have introduced the Clean Energy Jobs Act. The Clean Energy Jobs Act is a grassroots-led and developed bill. It started when the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, which is the group that has designed and written the Clean Energy Jobs Act, went to every single Senate district across the state of Illinois and held something called Listen, Lead, Share sessions, where we asked folks what they wanted to see in a clean energy future for their community. What were their priorities, and how could we help them? And we heard a lot of information, and there were a lot of really, really important stories and narratives that were shared with us. But this was the foundation for the bill, and it helped us develop the policies that I'll explain shortly. So in February 2019, the Clean Energy Jobs Act was introduced. And the pillars, again, which were derived from these Listen, Lead, Share sessions that the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition conducted across the state of Illinois. These policy pillars were developed, including providing quality jobs and investments in communities across the state, moving to 100% renewable energy, just talking about wind power and solar power by 2050, and then fully decarbonizing, so no more carbon emissions by 2030 in the state of Illinois, and then also increasing access to electric vehicles and removing a lot of the really harmful diesel and just gasoline-powered vehicles from the roads, which we also know have a really, really severe impact on respiratory health, especially in communities that are oftentimes, located near highways or major arterial roads. And this acts as a threat multiplier when you have a respiratory health pandemic, and then also folks who are being disproportionately impacted by emissions from vehicles. So these were some of the conversations that came up and helped us develop the policy pillars for the act. And as you can see, we have 31 Senate and 55 House co-sponsors, which is great. We have a lot of support in the state legislature to pass this bill. Top line messaging for the Clean Energy Jobs Act, or CEJA as we call it. It's good for consumers. We have a guaranteed rate saving provision built into the bill. So, going back to what Marvin was talking about, we have, PIP and LIHEAP that can help folks pay their bills when they get overburdened. But we're looking to just lower the bills in general because the ratepayers in Illinois are already overburdened, and we know that Black and brown communities pay more for the same amount of electricity than their white counterparts, and this is a huge issue. So we know that we need to lower the bills, and that's why we have a provision in CEJA to make sure that that's the case. And we're also going to incentivize the renewable energy economy, which will be more affordable than coal and natural gas in the long term. We also know that there needs to be a lot of jobs and more economic opportunity for folks across Illinois, especially as we're recovering, from the economic crisis of COVID-19. We have a lot of programs that I won't have time to get into, but I'm happy to talk about it if folks have questions that will help provide, job incubation programs, contractor workforce programs, and these programs are going to be located in the communities that need them the most, or nearby to the communities that need them the most. And we'll provide wraparound services to make sure that folks can use the job training programs and the contractor training programs and the company incubation programs most effectively. And finally, for the public health and the environment, we need to have a bill like CEJA because the climate crisis, again, is very real and it's hurting a lot of people right now. So where are we? CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act, did not pass in the spring. There were a lot of very, very serious issues that needed to be attended to, including public health measures and fiscal stimulus bills. But you can just look at the numbers for how much support there is right now for the bill. We have cross-party support: 98% of Democrats, 84% of independents, 58% of Republicans in support. We see plurality of support across regions in Illinois, and we see that 74% of people want CEJA to be passed right now. They know the seriousness of the issue. They know that clean energy future is good for jobs, for equity, and it's good for the environment. So what are our next steps? There were some governor's energy working group meetings that were convened by the governor's office to talk about CEJA and several other bills. So there was this momentum building. And then our coalition, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, which IEC and CUB is part of, has been prioritizing a lot of legislator outreach and coalition building around CEJA to make sure that folks know what's in the bill and why it's so important. In the fall, we're planning on doing more outreach, more town halls, and then hopefully getting the bill passed in the veto session because we know how important it is to people, given that poll that I just described, and also just hearing stories about people who want this passed. And ways that you can help lower, your energy bill and push it towards a clean energy future through CEJA. You can do all these things here. Follow the Illinois Clean Jobs account on Twitter and on Instagram. Follow IllEnviro, which is IEC's account, and CUB Illinois on all platforms. You can look for updates and share your own stories with folks when you want to, and to tell them why clean energy is important to you. There's a lot of petitions to sign, and you can organize a lot of events, and the accounts that I just listed help spread those around. And then finally, contacting your state representatives and senators, and calling Governor Pritzker to tell him why you want your energy bills lowered, and why ratepayers deserve a better deal, and why we need to have a clean energy future for the climate crisis, for public health, and for the economy. So that's what I've got. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will shift it back over to Kate. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Gavin. That was great. That was a thorough accounting of all the reasons we need to get the Clean Energy Jobs Act passed. It's an important and urgent moment, and to speak to the opportunity we have in this present moment, and to focus on kind of what the crisis we're currently in requires as a solution. I'm happy to introduce Naomi Davis of Blacks and Green. She's going to speak on the moment. And I wanted to add that there are a few people who have joined since we began. So we are recording this session, and it will be available on YouTube. And please feel free to add any questions in the chat. For those calling in on the phone, we'll have a Q&A portion at the end, so we'll try to unmute you then if you have any questions. Take it away, Naomi.
Hi, and thank you. Let's see. There we go. And I will share my screen. Is that what I do now? Okay.
Yes, please.
I want to sort of bring it on home. I think my colleagues have done a superb job today to crystallize what the action points are, what the programs are, and to give some kind of context for how they constitute a benefit to various communities. And I just want to slow it back a little bit and really focus. I'm the founder of Blacks in Green. I'm the CEO, and we are focused on how to create an infrastructure that has never existed in the Black community, bringing the green economy, bringing the clean energy economy into the Black community. And that has, I work in tons of committees, coalitions. I'm a part of the Illinois Environmental Coalition, and really respect and admire what those organizations are doing. And what folks need to know is that at the end of the day, where does that show up for the Black community? We understand as much as anybody that, and I understand as much as anybody as a witness to the last 50 years of people who really mean well and are very smart and are very caring. However, that has not translated to an increase in household income or the metrics of health and wealth in the Black community. If we're honest, we know that it hasn't. And so let me see, I'm gonna share my screen here. Share. And PowerPoint. And there we go, I think. So, so what I want to say is that the work of the Clean Energy Jobs Act has manifested in equitable workforce and business development, energy access and solar for all programs, vehicle electrification, energy efficiency, and these are all things that at Blacks in Green here, we're located, for those of you who don't know, in the Woodlawn community, 6431-33 South Cottage Grove in Woodlawn, in the heart of the South Side, a Black community that is undergoing a siege of what we call wealth disparity displacement. And when we talk about wealth disparity, I want you to understand that the Clean Energy Jobs Act, if it is what it can be, it will deliver, it will facilitate, it will foster, it will be sort of a hotbed for what can happen in a clean energy economy. And so one of the things that we know, let me see if I can get this. Uh-oh, I can't move my screen. I apologize. What we know is that the just and equitable access to energy that the Clean Energy Jobs Act talks about includes in very large part an Illinois Solar for All income efficiency budget expansion. This means that there's a carve out in the legislation that specifies that environmental justice communities, communities that are where residents are returning from imprisonment, that communities where critical mass of folks are aging out of foster care, and where there are unemployment rates that are atypically strong, that we are looking at how to apply the Clean Energy Jobs Act, the Future Energy Jobs Act, to produce benefits in those neighborhoods. Even though we may understand that certain dysfunctions are happening, and if you're reading the headlines, I don't have to tell you more about what's not going right. But what I wanted to focus on in the time that I have today is what is going right. When we talk about jobs in the Black community, when we talk about the clean energy economy, what there is to understand is that means that there are Black vendors who are able to satisfy and qualify for the programs in the Clean Energy Jobs Act, approved vendor status, and in the marketplace of vendors who are providing energy efficiency assessments, installations, deep energy retrofits, that are able, Black trades organizations that are able to serve the communities where they live. So on the South Lakefront, for example, where we're located, how many organizations, how many entities, corporations are providing energy efficiency, solar, and weatherization services to the customers in that community? What we have been able to establish with our colleagues at Clean Jobs Coalition and with the governor's office is that we have a commitment to building incubators, hubs, and this is a very key part of the Clean Energy Jobs Act, that will build the infrastructure for the clean energy economy. So, for example, in the Illinois Solar for All program, we know that in my zip code of 60637, where there are several, I think the number is 1,300 plus installations in the state in my zip code that are taking advantage of no upfront costs, rooftop solar installations that will reduce cost and increase comfort in households. There are two. So we are participating in programs that are also funded through the Future Energy Jobs Act, the grassroots education program, to bring the information more widely available to residences who can benefit from rooftop solar installations. We have been working to cultivate a cohort we call the Green Power Alliance of master electricians, plumbers, carpenters, general contractors, did I say roofers? HVAC professionals, who are working collectively to build an entity that can serve for clean energy services in the Black community. Now, let me just say to you this, right now, these programs are alive and well, but unless they are being delivered by Black vendors, the services to Black households will not be generating will not be leveraging the opportunity to generate the wealth in our communities through the contractors and the supply chains that they cultivate as part of their business operating systems, that is necessary and a part of rebuilding the health of the Black community. So the idea that we have energy efficiency programs inside of the Clean Energy Jobs Act, that means that there are roughly 90,000 existing jobs in Illinois and 15,000 small businesses. But CEJA is creating training programs for small businesses that specifically target our communities. And if we don't have that pipeline that supports the recruitment, the education, recruitment, and training of people with a career destination, then we cannot fulfill the promise of CEJA, which means that there is a clean energy economy in the Black community. Because of FEJA, Blacks in Green and other organizations have been able to put, I'll speak for Blacks in Green, we've been able to put 15 men from our community into the solar installation a rooftop training program, and the process of putting them through that 12-week program can be transformative. It's not automatically transformative. What is the pipeline that exists that feeds them through a training program into real life impact? Well, let me say to you that part of that real life impact is finding a job at the other end of that road. And 4 of those people have actually been employed thanks to the Energy Efficiency Innovation Contract through ComEd, funded by ratepayers, fostered by the Future Energy Jobs Act. 4 of them found career homes here at Blacks in Green. And what does that mean? That means that they were being able to increase their household income through strong wage earning levels, doing work that is future forward in the community where they live. As many of you know, Blacks in Green is devoted to the idea of the walkable village, the sustainable square mile, where African Americans can walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, and walk to play. And if these men, and unfortunately it's true, we were not able to recruit any women in our first 2 years. We're going into the 3rd year presently, and we're looking for women of all ages who can who are interested in participating in the photovoltaic careers. But I want to say that careers don't just consist of, and they haven't for Blacks in Green, of getting onto the roof. The 4 that we hired here, 2 of them were hired off by Sunrun, one of America's leading solar, residential solar rooftop installers, 1 in sales, 1 in field technologies. Everyone isn't getting on the roof. And so the idea that we are walking the walk and showing people really need to be able to see it, to understand it. There's no background of obviousness, and there's no cohort that's walking around in these communities demonstrating what's possible in the new green economy, or the clean energy economy. So the idea that actual people who are participating, and I apologize that I don't know what's the glitch with my slides here, but the Green Living Room is that place where workforce training is taking place, where the opportunity to understand from a consumer aspect what the benefits are of the community solar programs, that no upfront cost residential rooftop installation program, of which there are now 2, but we are committed to exploding that number here in the community, where we are building a solar panel assembly plant, where we are looking at the awareness, advancing awareness of energy efficiency, which is part of that pipeline to wealth building at the household level. If you're able to save on your utility bills, and here at Blacks and Green, we're supporting that through our one-stop utility shut-on shop. That means that we are recognizing that Black and brown communities have an energy burden that's outsized to the what's considered standard and healthy for the American household. If 6% of your household income is considered a healthy proportion of your revenue to spend on water, electricity, and gas, but we have households who are routinely spending up to 25% and more of their income just to keep themselves into the basics. We understand that we are needing some system change. And Blacks and Green has been part of that cohort that has been working to change the system, regulations, and have successfully, most recently, helped to effectuate some of those debt relief programs that you heard of earlier in our program. I want to respect my time, and of course, I have a glitch here with my slides, but I wanted you to walk away with this. It's easy to get lost in the policy and in the numbers, but when you are both a policy advocate and a grassroots person walking door to door, as Blacks and Green is, when we understand the stories of the neighbors and the perils and the challenges that we face, especially here in COVID-19, where households are unbelievably living without running water because of water policy that the City of Chicago Department of Water, historically and outrageously racist department, has been stewarding. That what we want you to know is that there are organizations like Blacks and Green who are translating that policy into the metrics that we have not been taking care of over the past 50-year arc. In other words, how do we increase household income through the new green economy? And how do we take advantage of FEJA, Future Energy Jobs Act, and CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act, the next iteration of that, to expand the resources, which after all, 60% of which come from Black and brown communities. And every dime, every program, every event, and every bribe, may I say, comes from ratepayer dollars. And we believe that the champions of this Future Energy Jobs Act are the ordinary, everyday ratepayers who live in neighborhoods across the community, across the city, but especially those who are strained on the south and west sides, paying an undue burden of their household income on utilities, that we have in our sights right now the opportunity to return that investment in an appropriate way to vehicles that will increase the revenue opportunities of the Black and brown communities. And so I want to thank Representative Cam Buckner. I just want to thank you because it's complicated. We know that, but it matters, and we know that. And there are lives, there are real people. I wanted to show you their pictures today, our staff, our neighbors, and the way our programs function. I just want to thank you because the fight isn't finished, but the battle has been won, and now we're moving ahead to the next iteration where there's even more equity. Equity meaning it's a line item, and many of them, disenfranchised communities get paid first, they get paid more frequently, and they get paid larger amounts if we're going to level the playing field. And we at the Chicago Environmental Justice Network and Blacks and Green have been fighting for that alongside of our colleagues to increase the benefits, cash flow that returns from the ratepayers coming from Black and brown communities. And so thank you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. That was great. We certainly have a lot of work to do, but with Blacks and Greens leadership, as well as a ton of other organizations, I feel hopeful in this moment. So if we wanted to open it up to questions, I know we have a couple folks calling in on the phone, so I could try unmuting you and seeing how that works. And see if we could get that to work. Otherwise, if anyone's tuning in via the webinar, please feel free to enter any questions into the chat. Again, we will be sending out the recording to anyone who registered for the webinar so that can be shared. And we're happy, of course, to answer any questions outside of this webinar as well through our respective organizations. So we'll share everyone's contact information in that follow-up. I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. I can try unmuting some of you on the phone. Does anyone have any questions?
One is there's been some confusion as to between the Clean Jobs Energy bill and that generally we support, and other efforts with that ComEd has been and other utilities have been pushing it with fancy names that others aren't so sure as to what the benefits will be, especially to disadvantaged communities. Can you clarify that? Can anything clarify that? Devin, perhaps?
There we go. I couldn't unmute myself. Apologies. Also, Naomi, you're still sharing your screen, just so you know. That's a great question, and it's a question that we get a lot, and I appreciate you asking it. It gives me an opportunity to clarify. A lot of the utilities have sponsored bills that amount to bailouts for themselves, or a way for them to prop up a part of their own industry operation that doesn't necessarily prioritize or benefit ratepayers, and especially does not provide equitable opportunities for Illinois residents. When we talk about the differences between the utility bills that are being proposed in the Clean Energy Jobs Act and the Future Energy Jobs Act, the biggest difference is that the Clean Energy Jobs Act was proposed and written by the community itself. You know, I described the process by which the coalition, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition, the coalition that's created CEJA, went to every Senate district to find out what those communities were interested in building as part of an energy bill and what was most important to them. No other coalition and no utility has done anything like that. That is a unique process, and it's provided a grassroots foundation for the bill. Furthermore, the amount of ratepayer protections and the amount of consumer relief in CEJA is unparalleled compared to the other bills, and there's really no comparison. Just as the most concrete example, I think looking just at the mandatory rate reduction for all Illinois residents that is built into CEJA, if you just look at that, you can already see that our bill is ratepayer focused, and it's focused on building, more equity into the process. You know, there's so many programs. The bill itself is 850 pages, and it's so thorough, and it's a really expansive document, but it focuses on the people first, and the utility bills just don't do that. So there's a lot of differences that I can go into, but those are kind of the broad strokes of why CEJA is very different. Thank you for the question.
So I this relates to what was just discussed, but there was a question about what energy legislation is on the table for the veto session specifically, and that comes from Bruce Montgomery of Energy Solutions. I also wanted to maybe briefly just unmute you for the folks who just asked I'm not sure which one of you asked the question, but if you had any follow-ups to what was just answered.
I did, but it slipped my mind. You said the other ones don't help greatly, but if the reductions are too much, then won't the utilities sort of slack off on what they're supposed to be doing to bring us into the 21st century and introducing technology which should be getting cheaper over the years, and then maybe they won't do it. So how do we work around that while still helping the ratepayers?
Right. That's a really great question. Sorry, go ahead. You had another part?
No.
Yeah, that's a great question. What I will tell you is that Illinois residents are subject to higher than market average prices for energy through various complex energy market mechanisms that we don't have time to talk about today. But the one thing I can say is that we can guarantee rate savings because of some really clever and also rational changes to the energy market in Illinois. For example, the federal government wants to pass or wants to push these rule changes that essentially will make us procure more of our energy from coal-fired power and natural gas in Illinois, which is bad for consumers because it costs more money. If we're able to change just that, we can save, in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and that alone covers all of the ratepayer decreases that we're proposing. And there are a slew of other programs like that where we're going to both make our energy more affordable and also streamline the process by which we can get to a future where clean energy is more readily available, is employing more Black and brown folks across the state of Illinois, and is more sophisticated through things like integrated grid planning, and looking at ways that we can change these energy contracts and how we can build more renewable energy across the state. There's just so many programs that go into it that both again, transition us to the future and save us money. So there's a lot that's in the bill, and I would highly recommend checking out ilcleanjobs.org because it has a plethora and a wealth of resources that are really valuable to check out.
Thanks, Gavin. And did you just want to speak quickly to the or anyone on the call want to speak to the veto session and what we're thinking about chances of getting something passed in a timely manner?
I can do it, or maybe Representative Buckner wants to take a crack at it. I'm happy to speak though.
Go for it, Gavin.
Okay, I'll go for it. So the veto session is going to be tricky. It requires, because it's the veto session, it requires more votes to pass bills. We are confident in the coalition, given the amount of public support that we have and just the number of representatives and state senators who have supported the bill, that we can get it passed. We believe that we can do it, and we're going to try as hard as we can to make that future a reality. Yeah, I'm sure there will be other bills that are proposed in the veto session. We believe that ours is the most comprehensive, the most focused on people, and has the best chance of passing. But there are several others, and I think that there's a chance that there will be some utility-specific bills that are proposed, given some of the breaking news with ComEd.
Okay, I guess we're right at the end of the hour now. So if anyone has any other questions, we're happy to take them offline. We're getting one question at the end here. Who are the key legislators who support CEJA?
Yeah. Kate, you want to go ahead?
I'll leave that one to you, Gavin, again. Although we have, I mean, I can't even remember the amount of co-sponsors at this point because it is quite extensive. There's quite a lot of support in both the House and the state Senate. So we've got the sponsors of the bill, Representative Williams and State Senator Castro, and you know, and if anyone's interested, actually, we can also send out the links to which legislators are co-sponsors, so you can see if your legislator is a co-sponsor. I can type that into the chat, but I feel like since we're wrapping up, I should probably just send that in a follow-up email. So I can go ahead and add that to our follow-up with anyone who registered for the webinar. If anyone else has any closing remarks they wanted to add. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. And Bruce is saying, please do send that list. So we will go ahead and send those links so you can know exactly who has signed on. Of course, co-sponsoring doesn't mean that the legislation has passed, and we still need to continue to send the message to our legislators that, you know, these are policies that we support. If you look into, as Gavin said, if you look into kind of what the policy proposals are and find that you do support them, please make sure to get the word out and let folks know about the urgency that we have to get this passed. Well, thank you so much to everyone. I hope everyone has a lovely afternoon, and we will send that follow-up email to let everyone know.
Thanks, everyone.